Hello everyone and welcome to the Main Street Finance YouTube channel. Now, as I talked about in the podcast last week, we're going to be covering some compound interest topics, and if you watched the last video on compound interest, you'll now know what compound interest is, how it works, how there's a crossover point where your interest is more than what you put into it, and how to see how that grows. So what we did here is I didn't want to make that video too long, so I decided to divvy it up. So let's go back into our Google Sheets, and let's open up the compound interest spreadsheet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll down. So this is going to be the second part here. We're going to take what we learned in the compound interest video, and we're going to apply that to retirement. Now, you'll notice I gave you two options here, or rather two sections for you to calculate, the section I highlighted and then one below. And I did that to make it easier on you guys because, again, this spreadsheet is shared to my Google Drive to where any of you could go and download this. So I wanted to give y'all two so y'all had something to play with. Now, keep in mind that the only fields you need to be playing with are the ones highlighted yellow. So you're not going to want to touch anything else because the rest of these are all formulas. So if you change the formula, you're going to change all the math, and that's not going to be fun. If you end up accidentally doing that, all you need to do is go back to the Google Drive and download a fresh copy of the spreadsheet, and that's going to put everything right back to normal. So let's go ahead and talk about this. This is going to be the same calculations as before, but this time we're going to apply it towards retirement. So in doing this video a couple times before, I end up making 30-minute videos if I'm not careful. So forgive me if I seem like I'm speeding through here. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead. We've talked about in the retirement episode. We talked about it in the budgeting episode. And we talked about it in 401k and IRA episodes. You're going to be able to put aside a certain amount of money. And you're going to put that money aside so that you have something to retire on later. So just for fun, let's go ahead and assume, as I imagine most of my listeners are, between about 20 and 30. So just for fun, let's see the maximum that compound interest can do for you. And we're going to assume 45 years. We're going to assume you started working at 25, you are now 25, and you're going to retire at 65. So that's going to give us 40 years of growth here. So this is the number we're looking at. So the first thing you're going to want to do is fill in these fields. So if you have nothing saved for retirement right now, you're going to want to leave this number 0. But if you're a part of my audience that maybe you're 30 or 40, just kind of do that math in your head. Okay, I want to retire at 65. I'm currently 40. Okay, so I have 25 years of retirement. If that's the case, this is the column you want to look at that I have highlighted here. So you're going to have your starting amount. Now, the interest rate. I recommend, and a lot of financial planners recommend, using 7%. Now, for the last 100 years, the stock market has returned approximately 9.8%, but that doesn't account for inflation. That was the word I was looking for. It doesn't account for inflation or a couple other things. You might have bonds in your portfolio, so that's going to lower it. So I like using 7. I think that's a very good number to use because all of this is an approximation anyway. Now, if you want to be really careful, you can do 6%, which the numbers are going to come out smaller, but it is a more conservative, more on the safe side kind of estimate. I'm just going to use 7. And then our number of compounds per year, if you're putting aside a certain amount of money per month or per check, this is going to be where this comes in. So if you're saying you're going to put in money every month, you're going to want to make this number 12. Now, I have 26 because me, like most people, are paid every other week, and there's 26 weeks in a year. So if you're putting aside a certain dollar amount from your paycheck, 26 is the number you're going to want to use. And then your payments. This is going to be how much you're putting aside each paycheck, however much that is. And what happens is these formulas are going to see, okay, this much 26 times per year because it's this much per check. Or if you have this as a monthly number, it's going to take this number and multiply it by 12. All these formulas will take that into account. Now, I also have this little calculator right here. So if you're not trying to save a certain dollar amount, you're trying to put aside a certain percentage of your salary, which I recommend 15. So what you would do is, let's say you make $50,000 a year. You're saving 15%, and let's say you don't have a company match. So let's see what your retirement would look like. And let's say, you know what, let's say we're 40. We're going to look at this column here. We're going to say we're 40. We're going to retire at 65, which means we have 25 years to retirement. You make $50,000 a year, and you want to save 15%, and you don't get a company match. And you're paid bi-weekly. So we're going to assume you're starting with no money, 7%. You get paid every other week. And then we're going to put in 15% of your check. So that's going to be $288.46. So in 25 years, you're looking at $509,000. So let's see what that looks like if maybe your company offers a match. And let's say that's 3%. So let's go ahead. All we got to do is go in here. And if we're going to take advantage of that match, so we're going to say 3%. So now, keep in mind, you are still only putting in $288. The difference between that $288 and that $346 is the company match. So we're going to use the second one just so we have a comparison. So again, we're starting with nothing, 7% every other paycheck. And then, every other week, which is when you get paid. So we're going to say $346.15. Okay, so for year 25 there, instead of $509,000, you have $611, which means you're going to have an extra $330,000 because of that company match, which is going to be an additional 20% more with the company match than you would with the non-company match. Now, this formula defaults to the 40-year is what it compares, but really the difference is this 3%. So chances are I would imagine that 3% is 20% of 15%. So if you do the math, it's going to be any of these periods you compare are going to be a 20% difference. So that's just a quick once-over of how to use this. If you're 40 and you have, let's say, $50,000 already saved, so you're starting with $50,000, and then starting with this upcoming paycheck, we're assuming 7%. You get paid every other week. You put aside your 15%. Now remember, this is without the match at year 25. Now instead of the $500,000 number, now you have just about $8,000. And then if we wanted to compare it here for the company match, we're going to say $50,000 again. And so $900. So this is just a quick once-over of how to work this spreadsheet. So with this information, you can go in, put in however much you want to save. Maybe you want to save 20%. Maybe your company can match more if you do something, whatever. I went ahead and I made this spreadsheet available. It is the same way. There's going to be a link in the description that takes you to the site's Google Drive. And then from there, you just download a copy of this. Remember, you got to scroll down because originally you're just going to see this. So all you got to do, visit the link in the description. It's going to take you here. You can download a copy, and you can get a good idea of if I save this much per check, this much per month, whatever, this is how much I'm going to have in retirement. So, as always, if you have any suggestions for future videos or questions, comments, leave it in the comment below, or the description is also going to have the show's email address. Feel free to send me an email. I very much love y'all's opinions and feedback, and thank you for walking with me to Wall Street.